Gene Deal just dropped another major claim, and this time, it's about what Netflix allegedly refused to show. According to Gene, there were stories so serious and potentially dangerous that they never made it into 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. Now he says he finally understands why.
I told him what we was bringing to the table, who was going to tell a story, how they was going to tell a story. You know, I didn't know exactly what they were going to say, but I knew Tim grew up with Puff, so he can get the childhood thing. So I'm going and telling him the whole angle in which I would like for this to go. You know what I'm saying? What we was bringing to the table. It fell through because the lady was telling me what somebody else didn't give me or what somebody else didn't pay me, and she was being
When 50 Cent reportedly sold his Diddy documentary to Netflix for millions, many expected Gene Deal to be a key figure. Gene wasn't just a random source. He worked as Diddy's personal bodyguard during the height of Bad Boy Records. He witnessed the East Coast, West Coast tension, the night Tupac was shot, the night Biggie was killed, moments only a handful of people lived through. But when the documentary dropped, he was nowhere to be seen. No interview, no footage, nothing. That alone raised questions. At the same time, Netflix released clips and behind-the-scenes moments of Diddy leading up to his arrest, some of which sparked headlines and even reported legal threats. But Gene insists that what Netflix showed wasn't the full picture, not even close.
Pictures of different people that was no longer, but they was instrumental in the Bad Boy. They couldn't even tell the real Bad Boy story, how Puff and them got their money, got started and stayed in the game before Clyde Davis. You understand what I'm saying? Because they didn't have the pictures, they didn't have the person to deliver the story. You know what I'm saying? Bad Boy got their start with Corey Jacobs. Corey Jacobs, the dude you see next to Puff before he went to jail the whole 9 yards. Corey Jacobs went to jail for drug distribution and transporting narcotics. And he got 16 to life sentences. You know what I'm saying? So he was pardoned by Obama. His money and Wolf money is the money that started Bad Boy. You know what I'm saying? To keep Big, you know, when he let Big go, when Andre Harrell let Big them go, and Craig Mackman, Puff had to get money to keep them there. You understand what I'm saying? Before he can go make the deal with Clyde Davis. So what he do? He take their money to piece Big them off for some money before he makes his deal. You understand what I'm saying? So they couldn't even tell that story. That's a good story.
Gene later explained why he wasn't in the documentary. He says he originally cooperated, sharing photos, footage, and first-hand accounts. But things shifted when he spoke with director Alex Stapleton. According to Gene, she told him that 50 didn't control the budget or the final edit. When Gene saw what they were offering to use his material, he felt insulted. He believed his footage and evidence were worth far more. So he walked away.
You understand? Because I was talking to the producers, and before I talked to the executive director, and the producers knew, I was telling them what I was bringing to the table. Because I was trying to get a deal for me, Kirk, and Tim all together. Like a package deal. I wanted to try to get like 50,000 for each one of us. You know what I'm saying? So I told them what we was bringing to the table, who was going to tell a story, how they was going to tell a story. You know, I didn't know exactly what they were going to say, but I knew Tim grew up with Puff, so he can get the childhood thing. So I'm going and telling them the whole angle in which I would like for this to go. You know what I'm saying? What we was bringing to the table. I didn't know how they was going to do it, but I was saying, this is what we're going to bring to the table. Tim could start off with the childhood part of it because they grew up together. That's Tim Dog, Tim Patterson. Also, you know, he was the one who was working at Uptown. He was executive over there, A&R and all that other stuff. He went to Island Records. He used to work with over there at Arista, the whole 9 yards. Tim is the one who had the Lost Boys. If you remember the Lost Boys, you know what I'm saying? Tim was the manager of them. That was his group and everything like that. So Tim had a lot of inside and a lot of stuff to do with Puff. I had a lot of other people I could have brought to the table too. Eddie F., who taught Puff how to work the board and everything like that. just Eddie F, Heavy D and the boys DJ. I was gonna try to get Eddie and some other people like that. But it fell through because the lady was telling me what somebody else didn't give me or what somebody else didn't pay me, and she was being
But Gene now claims money wasn't the only issue. He believes major evidence was intentionally removed, information that, in his view, could change how the public understands everything. For example, he disputes the mainstream narrative of an East Coast versus West Coast war. Gene claims it was never about geography. Artists were still collaborating across both coasts. According to him, the real conflict was between two labels, Bad Boy and Death Row, centered on Diddy and Suge Knight.
So you have some people that say that Tupac, he was the one behind the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy. And you got some people that say that, the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy started when Big J got killed. But from your point of view, when did the tension and beef start between Death Row and Bad Boy?
All the tension started between Puff and Suge Knight. You understand? All the tension came from Puff and Suge Knight. Suge wanted Puff to have Big them do a show. Puff wanted to get paid for Big doing the show. But Suge had did a whole lot of shit, free shit for Puff at one time. Because when Puff used to come out to California, before he could afford security, before he could afford it, Suge used to look out for the cat. You understand what I'm saying? So now it became they bullshit. Then when Suge bought Misa out there, you understand? When Suge bought Misa out there and talk about what the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will, then Jake, Jake being killed by Jason. You understand? And they making that bullshit up like Bad Boy had something to do with it. All that shit was over women. And niggas being emotional like women. That's what it was all about. It was over women, Jake disrespecting Jason girl. You understand, wife? Suge disrespecting Misa, Puff's baby mama. And them niggas being emotional like women. A lot of niggas is behind bars based on their emotions. And them niggas is right where they at because of their emotions. People have lost their lives over the way a nigga felt. So, that's what the East Coast, West Coast shit started off.
Gene also claims the documentary ignored key details about the death of bodyguard Jake Robles. He alleges Mark Curry knows the truth and that the supposed killer was not the person most people believe. He claims the shooter was a Jamaican man from the Bronx who was later killed by police at Magic City, a detail he says was left out entirely. Gene further claims that Death Row later attempted to make peace and schedule a meeting to resolve tensions, but says Diddy refused to show up or send anyone, killing the chance for resolution.
It was Bad Boy and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas were still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I got to get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the shit between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy.
And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on him behind.
According to Gene, that decision was a turning point. He believes violence could have been prevented. Then he makes his most explosive claim, that Diddy allegedly knew Tupac was in danger before the Quad Studios shooting in 1994. The documentary mentions the shooting, but Gene says it left out one major detail, that on the same day, Diddy, Andre Harrell, and Jimmy Henchman were together in Henchman's office, unaware that Biggie and his crew didn't know Diddy was there.
About the Quad Studio shit. But they didn't mention the fact, and they left it out, that Big and C's did not know that Puff and Andre Harrell was in Jimmy Henchman's office the day Pac got killed. The day Pac got shot at Quad Studio. Let me repeat that again so it don't get mixed up in the whole thing. They did not mention that Andre Harrell and Puff Daddy and Jimmy Henchman were all in the office together. Puff was on the office because he was trying to spy on Big them, because Big was writing the Junior Mafia stuff and Puff had his publishing. I told this to a couple of people before. I said it before, and you got people that's running with it like they knew the story in the whole 9 yards. You understand? They'll lie and you ask them, how do you know that? Who told you? They couldn't even tell you that. They'll tell you some lie, they did some kind of investigation, but it didn't happen like that. You understand? Puff was there to spy on Big because he had owned Big Publishing. And Big had turned around, and the same people who helped Puff get Big Publishing told Big to turn and put Tatiana or put somebody else's name on his publishing or give it to Lil C's or whoever, this, that, and the third that he wrote for so he can get the money from.
While they were there, Gene claims Jimmy Henchman mentioned that Tupac was going to be taught a lesson over unpaid debts. Tupac reportedly showed up to record and work off what he owed, but things escalated.
In the interim of him being there to spy on Big, Jimmy Henchman told him that they finna teach Pac a lesson. Because Pac had owed him some money. So that's why he was up in the studio and was coming to the studio. Pac owed him some money. He was gonna work it off and get some money from doing a song with Lil Sean. And that's what that was about. But Pac was talking greasy to Jimmy Henchman, and Jimmy Henchman wasn't the type of dude that you talk greasy to, allegedly. Unless you 50 Cent.
So Diddy knew what was going to happen to Pac.
He knew Pac was about to deal well, yeah. He was there to see it. He was there to see it. He wasn't only there to see Big and them. When Jimmy Henchman told him that, he was there to see what's going to happen to Pac.
Gene says this entire detail was removed from the film. He also believes that Keith D, the man accused of involvement in Tupac's murder, might not be convicted, and that if released, prison might ironically be the safest place for him due to the danger outside.
Out of jail. They was trying to get Keith D out of jail to unalive him or have something to do with him being unalive. That's probably the safest place for him to be to a certain degree, because it definitely can happen there, depending on where you was being housed at, what ward, and the whole 9 yards. But if something happened to Kiffy D, LA, the Vegas Police Department would be like, yo, our job, we was trying to do our job. We had to kill him for Tupac. We was gonna convict him, but he came up dead. No, that's a cop-out. They have no, what you call that? They have no evidence they have no evidence to prove that Keefe D had anything to do with the death of Tupac Shakur.
I don't know, man. I mean, we all seen that video of him crying, man. It looked like he losing hope.
He know that he's in a position and he's in a situation that he was told to make up some lies. He was thought that Vegas would never be the ones who come after them. He made up some lies for cops in California. That's a proven fact. That's a proven fact. FBI agents came out and said he made up lies and he was told a script, given a script and adhered to the script that was given to him. And he said what he was said to get out of another drug charge that could have landed him life in prison.
As for how the case ends, Gene believes multiple people could face consequences. He argues that anyone who misled police should be held accountable, and even claims Keefe D might be able to sue if the charges collapse. He also says the real truth about the death of a bodyguard known as Wolf was ignored and alleges Diddy played a major role in what happened.
At the documentary, Kirk Burroughs, he did confirm that Big, he didn't want to go to LA, and they was actually getting warnings not to go to LA. But, you know, Diddy, he wanted to go, man.
My man, yeah, we must have had warnings, man. I didn't know. I knew that we shouldn't be out there in the first place, but it's crazy. Check this out. Wolf had already told, Anthony Wolf Jones had already told them, if you're not taking two tour buses of my niggas from the Valley, that's Co-op City in the Bronx, the Valley in the Bronx. If you're not taking these 2 tour buses of my niggas out there, I'm not going. Had told Puff them, had told Kirk Burroughs. You understand? I went down there and Kirk Burroughs called me up. He's like, yo, Gene, you and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I say, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security.
Gene recalls securing plane tickets for himself and Wolf. But when he told Wolf the ticket was ready, Wolf refused, saying he warned Diddy he wouldn't risk his life without proper protection. He felt California was too dangerous at the time, not because of Jake's death, Gene claims, but because Wolf wanted to stay alive.
Anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And that bullshit was with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote that whole shit. I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, Mighty. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff, you know what I'm saying? He ain't had to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't had to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit like that made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew BMF was powerful back then, they had dudes from everywhere. And Meech's telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more. It made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more. And one thing led to the next.
Some say the documentary was a personal attack orchestrated by 50 Cent. Gene disputes that narrative. The project was already in development before 50 got involved. His role, according to Gene, was simply to help get the deal done, and attaching his name ensured attention.
Stories, there's a lot of things they left out, and it is what it is. But you know, everybody trying to say 50, 50, 50, 50, you know, and they don't understand. They already had the producers. You know, 50 ain't make no shots as far as he ain't holding no camera. He ain't writing no script. They already had plenty of producers to put this together. They just needed to sell it. And who's the best salesman of them all? 50 Cent. You understand? If you see any kind of documentary, any kind of movies that's out there in our culture, if 50 behind it, they gonna buy it.
As for why 50 and Diddy have issues, the story goes back to 50's early career. Despite his talent, he struggled to get support in New York. Gene claims certain people, including Diddy, quietly told music executives not to work with him.
People put a tag on him, where is that, yo, don't let him make no money. Don't sign him. You ain't gonna have none but problems. They put a bad tag on him. You understand? He gotta go to the West Coast and with Dre and Eminem to get his deal. You understand what I'm saying? So they put this tag on him to stop him from eating his craft. You understand? They try to kill him, you understand, because they got a problem with him. And then you supposed to have some love, so people who try to take you out of here, try to stop you from eating and everything like that. Diddy was a part of that too. He was a part of that. Because he was telling the executives and people, don't mess with him. Just picture this, bro. He knew he could write. He knew 50 had talent. You understand? Why 50 ain't get a deal in New York City?
Facts, yeah. They had him black.
That's part of what pushed 50 to build his career elsewhere. The resentment never faded. People often compare it to the Tupac, Biggie situation, but Gene says something else was happening behind the scenes. He claims Diddy was jealous of Tupac, not just his success, but his respect, influence, and connection with Biggie.
They were saying that Diddy was really, really jealous of Biggie and Tupac's relationship.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And Kirk Burroughs, the president of Bad Boy, he knew Puff real well. Real well. Real well. So he made those accusations, and then you could see it too. You could see like every girl that Pop talked to. Sally Richardson, you know what I'm saying? Diddy got with her. Sarah Chapman, Diddy got with her. You understand? You know, the list goes on and on and on. You understand? If he seen Pac with him, he wanted him. If he saw Pac wear it, he wanted to have it. You understand? Pac beat him out of the part for Bishop and Juice. You understand? Puff wanted that part too. He auditioned for that part too. You understand? People may not tell y'all that, but he auditioned for that part too. So, you know, he wanted, and then you gotta see, like, you could just go tell that the drugs had his mind so messed up, whereas that he started thinking he was Tupac. For instance, did you see that Grammy speech he did?
I mean, I've seen quite a few speeches from Diddy. I don't remember.
Hey, listen to the verbiage in there. He's saying the same stuff Pac was saying.
Oh, wow.
The same,
okay.
The same, if people go back, he's saying the same stuff with Pac. Why? It's crazy.
Gene describes Diddy's energy toward Tupac as admiration mixed with bitterness. There's another story. He says the documentary skipped entirely the 1991 celebrity basketball game at City College. It was promoted by Heavy D and Diddy and became a deadly disaster after overcrowding, leading to several deaths, including a pregnant woman and her unborn child.
I see that the people was already crowded out there and it was crazy. So I finagled my way in there, me and Slicknam. I said, yo, I told Puff right then and there, I say, Puff, if they don't do a boxing one outside and get these kids off the door, somebody gonna die tonight. He said, Gene, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You just handle the stars once they come inside. So I said, yeah, all right then. So I did a walk around. So I walked around the top of the floor, went down the steps and went in the gym, and then came across the gym, and I seen that you can go up the steps and be right there at the front door. So everybody was coming in. You seen Dougie Fresh, Red Alert. They was on the mic. People start coming in and everything. It was cool. And then when LL Cool J and Mike Tyson showed up, that shit must have went pandemonium. They must have broke through the first doors where the FOIs was and came to the door where we was inside at. And it was a glass door that they were crowded at in the glass door, and people were steady pushing the people through the door, whereas that they pushed the people so hard.
The chaos was overwhelming. Glass shattered, people fell, and the crowd surged with nowhere to go. Multiple lives were lost. It became one of the darkest moments tied to Diddy's early career, yet Gene says the documentary never mentioned it.
Top of the store, we grabbed this girl. You know, she was pregnant. We later found out that was Father MC's baby's mother. And she died that day with her baby inside her. And you could see that she was pregnant. You know what I'm saying? She had to be like 6 or 7 months pregnant. So we grabbed her and helped her up. And then she ended up going downstairs when we had got her out the way. So they got trapped down the stairs. After they broke through the first glass, they got trapped downstairs through the second door because Jessica had got scared. That was Puffy's partner at the time, Jessica Rosenberg. She got scared, ran downstairs with the money box and shut the door behind her. And all those people got shut down in there and got trapped.
Right. 9 people died that day. 29 others were injured. And I guess Nice and Smooth's bodyguard was one of the people that got killed.
My man, let me tell you something. That dude was about 6'4". He had a white t-shirt on, I think with khaki pants. I was over there trying to resuscitate him, and I was like, this shit is crazy. So it was just that crazy. That big dude died there too. So you didn't have to be a certain size. He was about 6'4", man.
Yeah, sad. A very sad day to see that much death and destruction right in front of you.
Right.
A judge later ruled the blame was shared between the venue and the promoters. No prison sentences were handed out, but the fallout was devastating. Diddy lost his job at Uptown Records, and people close to him say he spiraled, believing his career was over. Gene questions why this entire event was ignored. Why didn't Netflix and 50 include these stories? What's the real motive? Gene leaves the audience with one question. What do you think?